Well, thank you so much for taking the time out. We're sitting here in a very famous rehearsal studio. You walk in, you see Eric Clapton, you see all these Sting, you see all these unbelievable bands. We're so lucky to be with Jon Bon Jovi. Thank you so much for taking the time out. We just heard you guys rehearsing. It's been fantastic.
Thanks.
You guys have 10 dates coming up in New Jersey, and then you're going to kick off a 9-city tour in Canada. It'll kick off your international tour. What was it about Canada that made you guys decide to start there for your international deal?
It was close to home. I mean, it was as innocent as that, you know. The plan this year with Lost Highway was initially no tour. And then I said, you know what, find me 10 shows at home. And my manager said, well, that won't be a problem. So he booked the 10 shows, and they sold. And then I was going to take off until January and just start in Japan. And then the bug bit me. You know, and I said, well, we're going to sit around from November 14th till January 14th, and, you know, we've got a bunch of guys on the crew that are sitting around waiting to do something and getting paid for it, so let's go to work. And then it was, all right, we'll do 10 across Canada and still be home for Christmas. Okay, let's go. So 10 more across Canada, and then we go to Japan, and then, you know, Australia and New Zealand, blah, 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 right around.
Can you remember your first performance in Canada?
If it was what I think it was Toronto at the El Macambo, which was a very, very famous club that the Stones made famous. I couldn't have held more than 150 people, and it was one of those kind of, you know, special places, like the New York Bottom Line. Were you ever familiar with the Bottom Line when it was around?
No.
Almost a cabaret. You know, you're not supposed to put a rock band in those kind of venues, and you know, the story in the El Macambo in Toronto was that the Stones and Elvis Costello and some people did those kind of legendary shows out there. And if my memory serves me, that may have been the first one.
You guys have been in over 50 countries worldwide performing. Where does Canada rank out of all those places?
It's big. I mean, you know, God, last tour we did, what, 4 Torontos, and, you know, we do multiple nights everywhere. So it's always been good for us, really good.
So how does your band get ready to go on tour? What do guys go through before they get ready to go?
With the exception of this, because we're starting with 10 nights at home, and therefore people are going to come to more than one night, and you got to, you know, do 70 different songs over the course of the 10 nights. We really don't rehearse. Every big band I know will sit in a rehearsal space for 3 months, and I'm like, I could write another record in 3 months. I don't get it. We don't rehearse. You know, in our organization, if you don't know the chords, it's your problem. It's your fault. You know, everybody shows up and knows what they do for a living. So with this, we've added 3 other musicians, and I'm just stretching it out a bit with a pedal steel player, violin player, another guitar player. And so, like I say, because we're starting with such big stands in all the major cities, it's more than just play the new album. You know, you're going to really go back to things that you may have never done.
Right. The last time Canadians saw you on television, it was the finale for Canadian Idol. How was that experience for you guys?
It was good. It was good. You know, not being able to tune in and see the season, and then you're just plunked into that situation where, you know, you're there with the finalists on the night.
Right.
You didn't have an affinity for any one of them, you know. You just came in and judged them purely on their talent when they came into the mentoring. They all seemed like they were very talented.
Starting next week, you guys will have 10 shows in Newark at the Prudential Center.
Yeah.
And you have such an eclectic group of openers for that. My Chemical Romance, All American Rejects, Daughtry, Big and Rich,
and Gretchen Wilson.
So what was the selection process like for that, to get these people together?
I handpicked them all, and it was really based on people who were either inspired or influenced by us. You know, in the case of Gretchen, it was more the inspiration of her liking this new record, and Big and Rich did a song with us on the record called "We Got It Going On," and then Daughtry and the Rejects and My Chemical Romance, being the next generation of Jersey band, all had something in their influences that were us. One of the guys from All American Rejects has one of our logos tattooed on his arm. You know,
really?
He wanted to grow up and be in the band. You know, so. We know that that next generation of guys that are all very, very good, they wanted to, you know, they all jumped at the chance to do it. So it was great for us.
So you're from New Jersey, you live in New Jersey, but I read that New Jersey is not your favorite place to play.
That's a fact.
What is it about it?
But Well, you know, every aunt and uncle and cousin you never needed to see again, you know, all want backstage passes. They think that the circus is going on backstage, and you're like, I'm going to work. Do I come to where you work and sit on the desk? Leave me alone. So it's actually quite a pain in the butt.
So maybe it's a good thing you have 10 shows here, because you can just knock all the tickets out and get everybody in.
It's even more intensive, you know. It's a pain in the, you know. It's but it's cool because, like I said, it was meant to be nothing more than fun. And then to know that you've opened that venue, you can only be one first, and to do 10 nights it's great. It's great.
So the new album titled Lost Highway, and the analogy there, taking a risk and not knowing where the road takes you. In your own experience, what is the biggest chance you've ever taken?
Well, if I had been older at the time, I probably would have told you that wanting to be a singer in a rock and roll band, and one that was going to make a career out of it. Because by the time you have any kind of responsibility, it's a daunting task to struggle, to make $50 between the band and, you know, drive around in a station wagon before there's a tour bus or an airplane. Fortunately for me, I was just so young that by the time I was 21, I had a record deal. And things were different by then. And back then, things were different. You know, it's a different time now. Where you could take 3 albums to establish a foothold, and then subsequently 12 albums. Now it is what it is.
Right. You had a chance to work with Gordy Sampson on this album.
Yeah, I did.
What was it like working with this Canadian songwriter for that particular song?
It was interesting to co-write a song. You know, sometimes we do, sometimes I don't. You know, I've done it both ways. And down in Nashville, they like the collaborative effort. You know, the country music scene is opening up, but it's just a crack in the doorway. And there's certain things like collaborating with a country writer. It influences the country radio to play the track.
Right.
You know, so there are such great talents in Nashville. Players, singers, writers, producers, studios. It's really become a world-class place.
And this album is a Nashville-influenced album. What is it about Nashville that inspires you to create music there?
I've been going there almost 20 years, and a lot of times I'd go there just to take in the songwriting. And unlike acting, for instance, a lot of my actor friends, they're envious of musicians because we can sit in a circle and pick up a bunch of guitars and play. You go to Nashville and you sit around in what's called a round, and you say, well, I wrote this song called Wanted Dead or Alive, and then they'll sit around and go, I wrote this one better called Dead, you know, and then you just play with each other and you're jamming. When you're an actor, it's not like you can go home and recite Shakespeare by yourself in the mirror. You know, you need to be on a stage or on a set, and so Nashville brought me great influence as a writer to go down there and just be a part of that community many, many times over, until it led to Richie and I writing Who Says You Can't Go Home and putting an unknown singer on it, you know, a girl named Jennifer Nettles, who then subsequently popped, and it was the first #1 country single by a rock band. Okay. And it opened up the doors for us to take this album to yet another place.
Can you ever see yourself going back to Nashville and recording more?
Sure. You know, next record, I don't see why not. You know, the thing is that it's music without prejudice. That's the way I look at it. And there's a handful of artists that think like that, and therefore country radio is a little more open-minded than they were.
Right.